I know what's going on in the world seems like a really big topic right now, and it feels too big to discuss with children. But children can feel your vibes. They know something's going on. Hello, welcome to the Chirp YouTube channel. My name is Christy. I am your friendly online speech-language pathologist and specialist in children's communication development, which includes behavior, because behavior is one type of communication. In this video, we are going to talk a little bit about how to talk to your kids about difficult subjects, those that are happening in the news right now, in my home state of Minnesota, in my location, which is in the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis. The reason I wanted to film on this topic this week is because I work with kids, and I have been kind of trying to discuss with kids their feelings. This is very important as we're managing behaviors. We need to know what's going on in our kids' minds, what's going on in their bodies. We need to know this about ourselves. Also, I am definitely taking steps to manage my own feelings. But I was kind of probing to see what's going on with the kids. Are they and their families all right? And they didn't seem very well informed. Now, these are younger children. They're elementary school aged. But it often happens that when children know adults are nervous, but they don't know anything themselves, the children, they're more scared than they would be if we tried explaining to them at a level that's reasonable what's going on in the world. I know what's going on in the world seems like a really big topic right now, and it feels too big to discuss with children. But children can feel your vibes. They know something's going on. Dad is feeling nervous. Mom is angry. And it helps them to have a way to discuss that. Obviously, we don't want to show them the news. We do not want to show them people getting shot in the street. If we can avoid it, children should probably not see that. We adults should probably not see that. Unfortunately, we all have. I do realize that not all of us watching this video together, discussing this topic together, will agree politically. You have the right to decide your own political beliefs, but you need to be aware that I'm going to approach this from my perspective. And my perspective is that all human beings deserve dignity. And all human beings are made in the image of God. And no one should be treated with violence. No one should be targeted based on skin color. These are some basics that I believe that I don't think any Jesus follower should be disagreeing with if they actually know Jesus. Moving on from there, the first thing we want to keep in mind is that we need to use simple language. We need to think ahead, probably write down what you want to say. I recommend making books on serious topics so that we can put forth the words we wish to communicate and not get confused and change the story in the middle of it. Because sometimes our own fears or our own uncertainties can just come spilling out of our mouths, or we can get the child really riled up if we express how upset we really are. We can admit to being upset, but going on a rampage about why the other side is wrong or why this particular person is evil is not going to help our children, and it's not going to help our children to follow Jesus better. So sometimes it's better to have a script. and to make sure that the phrases are simple. Short sentences, simple words. I will be giving you an example of what I say, how I am communicating about this topic to students of mine at the end of this video. So stay tuned. But as we go, keep in mind we need to be using simple phrases. This is the same when we're teaching anything to children. I did a video recently about how children learn. You can find that video right there if that is helpful to you, because kids do need simple language. Their vocabulary is not the same as an adult's vocabulary, and their processing speed is not the same as an adult processing speed. In addition, the kids that I work with have diagnoses of various kinds, and so I make adaptations based on what I know the child will be able to comprehend. Another thing to consider is using pictures. If you are going to make a book, as I recommend, pull some stills off of the internet and put them in your book. If you're going to talk about something that happened, get a picture of a person doing the job that we are talking about. Or perhaps if you're going to be talking about people who are marching for justice, for example, then show a picture of a march for justice with the signs that talk about the issue that you are concerned about. This is really helpful for kids because they can hook that idea onto a visual, and it helps them to figure out what the words actually mean. Once again, I don't recommend showing children pictures of murder or pictures of protesters being tear gassed or the long-range acoustic devices being used against civilians. I don't recommend that. That is not good for any of us to see, although sometimes we have to in order to be well informed. It's really not great for kids, but I think you already know that. The next thing we want to talk about is the fact that we need to define important words. Even if we think we know what they mean, or even if we don't really know how to break it down, we need to try. For example, if we're going to talk, I'm going to go into details here, okay? Because this is an important topic. This is potentially the breakdown of democracy. We need to be talking about this. ICE. Let's talk about ICE. ICE, I-C-E, stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The job of this team of people is to make sure that people and things come into our country in the right way. Very simple. Very simple. What about protesters? Protesters are people who think that somebody is going about something in the wrong way, and they want to say, hey, do a better job. How did I put that in my notes? Protest is showing that a person doesn't like what is happening. They might show this via holding up signs, or they might show it in the way that they change some of their behaviors, like maybe where they shop. You can define it however you want. Look up how other people are defining these topics for their kids, perhaps, or put down in the communication box down below, the info box, no, the comments. Put in the comments down below, how do you think I could break down this word or this topic for my kids or my students? And we all, as part of this community who care about children and about their development, we all can brainstorm with you how you could communicate about that issue to kids. What about the word violence? When I was brainstorming how I wanted to communicate about ICE to my students, I'm trying to be cautious because I don't know the political stance of my children's families. And I don't want to predispose them to a particular political belief system. I do want to teach them that violence is wrong. Violence against other humans is not what Jesus wants. And so I had to use the word violence. And therefore, I need to define the word violence. Violence is hurting other people. You can commit emotional violence upon people by hurting them emotionally. Most violence we think about is physical violence. When we hit someone, when we kick someone, when we bite someone, that is violence, and Jesus does not want us to be using violence. Just as an aside, I'm coming at this from a Christian perspective, a Jesus-centered worldview, because I attempt to follow Jesus. If you have a different worldview when it comes to your spiritual beliefs, if you don't believe in any spiritual forces, use these same tactics because they will help you communicate better with children, because they are based on children's brains and children's development. The next thing we should remember when we are writing this story, a script that we're going to use to communicate with our children, is that we need to use phrases such as, some people think, other people believe. These are very important. We do not want to teach our children to hate other people. We do not want to teach our children that other people are less because they believe something else. Jesus said to love our enemies. We need to be practicing that in the way that we teach our children as well. Even if we are furious at someone, even if we are enraged by what is happening in the world, we must control ourselves in order to teach our children better. I did not learn emotional self-control as a child. I've talked about this on this channel before. I have learned it as an adult. You can learn it too if you haven't already, and we can help the next generation to do better in this area. We can help them learn to manage their own emotions. And we can help them learn to respect other people, probably especially those who disagree with them. One way we might use this is, some people believe that ICE is doing a really good job. Other people think ICE is using too much violence. They're hurting too many people, trying to keep the rest of the country safe. We can use phrases like these, remembering to value the people on the other side of the issue, even if we disagree with their conclusions. Then our next step in our discussion, in our script writing, hopefully, is to explain what is actually happening to the children. We need to explain how things started. This needs to be a narrative. A couple of weeks ago, a bunch of people came into the state of Minnesota. They are called ICE agents, I-C-E. That stands for, then we can describe, the way we talked about before, who these people are and what their supposed job is. Then we talk about who it affects. In this case, it's affecting all people because we are all scared and feeling terrorized. It was supposed to affect only criminal elements who were not in this country in the right way. That is a good way to describe it. After we describe who it's affecting, we can describe how it's affecting different groups of people. In this case, I would say something along the lines of, the main people who are being affected the most are people who have darker skin, people who have brown skin, or people who have black skin, or people who have an accent. An accent is when the way that you speak English is a little bit different from the way other people speak English. It sounds a little bit different. Maybe you can pretend with your child to have accents, or you can play on your phone or on the television a little piece of someone speaking English with an accent, and you can talk about that. Usually that means they spoke a different language when they were little kids. People moving to the United States, is part of what makes us the beautiful, rich, dynamic country that we are. We have lots of different people here who bring lots of interesting ideas and lots of hard work and lots of love and family into this beautiful country. And each one of them is very special to Jesus. And they all need to be treated with love and respect. And that is part of the next part of writing our script, which is we need to talk about why it matters. This matters because it's important to Jesus. And we are trying to follow Jesus in our family. We love Jesus because he is love. He welcomes us. He made us. No matter what we do, we are still loved. He made all the world around us, and it is so beautiful. And he made all these people too. And we need to treat people like Jesus would treat people. And so it's very important to us that all people be treated with love and respect. That is why this issue matters to us. That is why we want ICE to be kind. We want them to do their jobs without violence. We want protesters to be safe rather than getting hurt. Then we want to talk about some things that you as a family can do. This helps children to work through, this helped me, to work through the fear and the uncertainty of scary armed masked men in our streets by coming to some creative ways that we could share love. It does not have to be related to the issue at hand specifically. In my case, my husband and I did go to a couple of protests. We made signs and we participated with other people in rallies that we hope helped people realize that we expect nonviolence. We expect ICE to be doing their jobs without violence. We expect protesters to be safe. We expect the people who are taken away and detained are actually bad guys and not just random people on the street. There have been a lot of mistakes. I have some ideas for you. I made a list, but it's a good idea if you go to the link below this video because there are more lists down below of things that you can do. You can brainstorm with your child. Maybe you look through these lists. Maybe you talk about some of these ideas with your child, and you and your child decide together, let's do this thing and this thing and this thing. And we will keep doing those things. And we will show love to our neighbors and to our friends. And we will make this world a better place this week in these ways. For example, you might choose to write some cards to some of your neighbors. I especially recommend touching base with neighbors of color, especially if you're in Minnesota. Our neighbors here are scared. Many of them do not want to leave their homes, even the ones who are American citizens, because they're afraid that they will get taken. The way that people are getting taken is aggressive, and obviously, even people who are citizens, who don't have an accent, who don't even have dark skin, which has been targeted, are being killed. So even people who are legally here with all the right paperwork are scared of getting killed or getting dragged away and lost in the system and maybe never seeing their family again. If we can check in with them, if we can tell them, we are glad you are here, you add something important to our community, please let us know. Text us if you'd like us to walk your dog or pick up some groceries for you. We'd be happy to help you feel safe in our neighborhood. This would make a big difference for me, and this is something that my husband and I did for our neighbors that I think probably made some of the biggest difference in the world, because relationships are where love is seen, and Jesus was all about relationships and about helping people. If you believe it is safe to do so, you could consider with your child protesting at a rally. You can make your own signs. You can share that you want there to be less violence in the world, that we should love like Jesus does. As you are connecting with neighbors, you could consider making or buying them some treats. It's always fun for kids to bake with their families, and to be able to share those treats is especially fun. You could make cards that you can send to neighbors or family members or friends who are far away, especially if those people are in an area that is really targeted right now by ICE. We had a little boy, a little friend of ours that's a coworker of my husband's, but he doesn't live in Minnesota. But he asked his mom, "Are Christy and Greg okay?" And even though we are not people who are targeted at this time, it is still scary. And it really touched my heart that this little boy thought of us. And so if you have family members who are in this area or another area being menaced at the moment, then checking in with people is a huge, huge blessing. Obviously, as you are praying with your children, pray for peace. Pray for a release from the fear and the violence that is in many of these communities. Also, you could help your child to write a script to call your representatives. This was a big step for me before recently. I had never called my representatives before. If this is something that interests you, there's an app called, I believe I'll put a link down below, and it sends you a message with different issues that are coming up for vote or different issues that are in the news. And it tells you, because you put in your zip code, it tells you who your representatives are. You can call them right from the app. It's very convenient, and I have been doing this regularly, and it does help me feel like a more well-informed citizen, and also as if I am taking a stand, which in one way is scary because we know that some administrations take retribution on people who stand against them. But on the other hand, I feel good about standing against certain things. There are many food banks here in the Twin Cities area that are taking donations and delivering groceries to people who are afraid to leave their homes. In the list down below, you can find links to those. You can donate financially to them if you wish. Even if you are in a neighborhood or an area of the country or the world that is not directly affected by these ICE actions, you can still make a sign and stand on your street corner to raise awareness that this is not just a problem for certain areas. This is an issue that is affecting the entire world. When one state is unstable and afraid, the whole country is. When one country is unstable and afraid, especially when it's as large and influential as the United States, it affects the whole world. We need peace. We need wise leaders. And the more you can do to bring discernment, to help people to see the truth of what is really happening here, the better. I have written a little script here myself, This is very basic, and obviously please fine-tune it with your own child's abilities in mind, with your own particular concerns in mind. But here goes. A few weeks ago, ICE agents were sent to Minnesota. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Their job is to make sure people and things come into our country in the right way. ICE has taken a lot of people away. They have taken people who do have all the right papers, as well as people who came to our country without the right papers. They have also hurt a lot of people who should not have been hurt. They use violence, hurting people, to make people scared. Some people think ICE is doing a good job and that it's okay to hurt people while they're doing their job. Other people think it is never okay to hurt people, and these people are angry at ICE for not being more careful. A lot of people are scared. Our friends and neighbors, especially those who have darker skin, are scared because ICE is focused on them. Just because someone has darker skin does not mean she doesn't have the right papers. And even if someone did come to our country without the right papers, it is not okay to use violence. Because we love and follow Jesus, we want to do something to help our friends and neighbors like he would. Let's talk about some things that we could do. This is not going to scare children. This is going to empower children. This is going to free children from nebulous fear that bad things are happening and they aren't safe. I'll give you, in this community, no one feels safe right now. But we can help them to have some agency about how we act like Jesus in this world, how we share love, how we spread peace, how we project more Jesus, more peace into this world. We need to talk to our kids about this, and I wanted to equip you with as many tools as possible. I hope you feel equipped and empowered to actually communicate with your children on difficult issues. Obviously, all these strategies work for other issues as well, not just what's happening in Minnesota right now. But we do appreciate your prayers and your encouragement. And like I said, if you have a specific word or phrase or topic that you're not sure how to translate into childese, then put it down below and we can brainstorm together. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.